through. So this is a short introduction for, let's say, the part-time version of the Master International Supply Chain Management. I prepared that to introduce this track. Basically, it is designed for anybody who is either a business graduate with 2-year work experience in the supply chain field, and who is really willing to invest and like to pursue a next step in the career in supply chain management. Graduates who have a non-business disciplines with at least 3 years of work experience in the supply chain field. So that might be a bachelor in finance or in business or business administration. This would apply then that you would be working already 3 years in your supply chain management type of role, and then you can apply. And any professional with 5 years work experience in supply chain, but who has not had, let's say, a bachelor in any business related or finance or economic related bachelor. So for instance, if you studied history, then we expect you to have at least 5 years experience to be entitled to enroll. The reason for that is quite clear. You will be experiencing a group of professionals, and if you would compare yourself with only 1 year experience, if you've done history, you have a major backlog in terms of supply chain management experience, which others would have in that respect. So that's the reason why we've leveled it like that in this way. So we have a bit of a promise to you. It's really to inspire your students to become the best they can be. So that means that, yes, we will be working together, we will be co-creating, and we will be helping you to learn, to build learning communities. But in the end, it is really in your support. We are not going to take you completely by the hand and teach you everything in terms of only knowledge. It will also be about skills, and it will also be about attitude. So the attitude is a very important element which we've brought in only recently. And there's a clear reason for that. What you see in let's say educational elements, you would have the standard type of capabilities which we would teach you and train you on. We've translated the majority into knowledge. So if you then look at the 5 topics we have here, global issues and sustainable supply chains, and so really understand what is required in a supply chain environment where sustainability is more and more important. Supply chain technology and innovation, that is really driving, let's say, the progress in supply chain management. The next one is supply chain strategy with value creation as an add-on. Operational excellence, obviously, everything in a supply chain is geared to be as efficient as possible, and therefore operational excellence, so everything what you do in an end-to-end operation is supposed to be at an excellent level to make everything work and smoothly tie into one another, and therefore you can create a good and design a good supply chain. Performance management is really about knowing what is going on where and how to improve that those type of matrices. Then we have a couple of skills, really to train you on and to get, let's say, excellent in that. The one is the holistic thinking, the system type of thinking, where we really say you need to encompass everything around it. So what you look in just from a silo in terms of a individual or in terms of a function, take procurement, take warehouse management, take make, that is never going to be the optimal for the total end-to-end supply chain, everything around it. If you optimize one element, for instance, if you as a procurement manager would negotiate the cheapest price, and you experience that your warehouse management is not happy because all of a sudden they have in one go 10 times the volume they normally would need in a week, and therefore they need to stock 9 weeks of extra material in their warehouse, and therefore it is causing a problem for them. But you, as a procurement manager, would say, but I've saved 5% on the total price for that, so that's a good deal. So this is what you would learn in holistically in terms of systems thinking. Leadership, that is anything from personal to group to organizational level, and that is really linking that to, in terms of the attitude to a growth mindset, which I will cover later on, is a key skill to have. So you cannot change the world, but you can make a step by starting with yourself to show the leadership and really start progressing based on the project, based on a task you have. Project management is the next one, where you really say, I want to start something and finish it in time, in full, in budget. That's project management, what we will be training you on. Data analytics, a fundamental, let's say, capability. Anything you see in a supply chain management is related to data, and therefore understanding what you see in terms of data, where it originates from, to be critically analyzing that is very important as a skill. Applied research and critical thinking, this is where the combination comes in. If you have an idea, a hypothesis, you would need to research that properly and critically assess whether this is going to help you to answer a question which your leadership might have put on your plate. Ask yourself the why. 5 times why. That is a, let's say, critical thinking type of approach to really deep dive into understanding the ask. Then we go to the attitudes. Awareness, being aware of your surrounding. How do you get the news on supply chain management, supply chain procurement, relevant type of information? If you see everything in the world at the moment, geopolitical, climate change, anything which in terms of business, people, governments making decisions to alter everything in your surrounding. This is where awareness is going to be vitally important. So where do you get the news from and what do you do with it? Forward-thinking mindset, that is really like, I now know a certain situation, I've done the data analytics, I've hypothesized on what I want to research, and I've critically assessed what I'm going to do. Then a forward-thinking mindset is really, okay, and what is then going to happen if I push this button, if I implement a certain change? And the impact of things you need to emphasize in terms of scenarios. So that's the forward thinking we mean here. Collaborative mindset is anything you do on your own is done in your own head. If you work together in terms of collaborative learning, you will learn more and you go farther with your thinking if you do that in a class with many fellow students who have experience in the same, let's say, environments. Growth mindset is, I'm now here. How do you envisage the future for you and for your business as a consequence of the project you've been implementing and suggest to your senior management? If you properly do that, you can grow and really help your business going forward. And that is, of course, linked to a global issues and sustainability angle. Make it happen. That is what we would call in Rotterdam, roll up your sleeves and get going. It is really a mindset which we would like to, let's say, aspire people to embrace. So that is also an attitude. So sitting back and wait until others will do it for you, that is definitely not what we would like to do. So I've covered now 4 slides, so we'll go back to the chat and pick up any questions related to those 4 chats. Let me change quickly now. Okay, so Mikos, you have a question. Would you say that the part-time program is more suited for professionals who've worked for a longer time in the supply chain industry? Basically, the 3 levels which are just indicated. I should start live entering. Stop live entering. So if you see the 3 levels, it depends on what you have as a bachelor environment, what you have under your belt. So if you have a business graduate with 2-year work experience, that should be sufficient. So if you would have, for instance, a bachelor degree in supply chain management for the Rotterdam Business School, as we have, you would enroll in that program within 2 years of after 2 years working in the environment. Anything which goes beyond, let's say, business, but in the economic domain, let's call it like that. So you would need a 3-year experience, and anything beyond that, like I explained, Dutch or languages or Asian history or whatever, you would need to work for 5 years in the environment. You always need to prove that by showing your credentials and showing your CV and showing your diplomas with when you enroll. And so this will be checked whether that is sufficient, yes or no. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, and anybody else who has a question? Tiana, do you have a question? You've not responded to any of my questions, so I don't know whether you can hear me or whether you saw the video up front. Would be helpful. This tool is not very interactive until compared to Microsoft Teams, so I do hope that you can hear me and would be able to answer this. Okay, good. Well, then I'll go back to the let me see, to the presentation. I will continue. So that's basically the knowledge, skills, and attitude. We've developed that over the last let's say 1.5 to 2 years, and we're progressing to implement these. Now I would like to take a bit of an overview on the curriculum. So what you see here is that we basically build it up in a couple of steps. So we start every February, so it's only once a year. And the reason for February is because we've noticed that if you would start just after September, you won't have had enough time to have the conversation with your sponsor company, whether they would be willing to support you not only in time, but also financially. And this is where we've seen in the past that it will help if you have, let's say, end of year conversation, and you bring that up. This is what I would like to do next year. And then if there is a yes, you can start from February onwards. So make sure that you enroll prior to the 31st of December, because that is the closing date of the enrollment. So what you see here is it is a 2-year program, 1 day a week. It is always on the Thursday, and you are expected to attend every Thursday. Timing will be depending on the block, but it will be anywhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock start, and the end will be anywhere between 5 o'clock and 5:30 on the Thursday, every week. You have blocks of 8 weeks, and then you close that off with an assignment, and then if it allows, you will have a week off, and then you will start with the new block. You will have standard type of holidays like in any academic year, so the autumn break, coming up next week, if that is in block 1, as it is now, you will have a week off for school. So that is like you traditionally would know from any university. So that also applies for the part-time version. So let me run through the blocks in sequence. So you have year 1, we have block 1 to 4, and in year 2 you have block 5 to block 8. And I will cover the performance coaching management training separately, which runs over the 2 years. So let's first start with block 1. We start with critical analysis of current supply chain advancement. That is really, we will bring, let's say, the outside in. So we will be deep diving into trends to understand how supply chain in the world at the moment is changing, and where, let's say, the difficulties, the challenges, and the opportunities are. You will be asked to critically analyze these trends and to put them into perspective of your own company where you work. So the assignment will be to really reflect if you would suggest to your senior leadership, this is a trend where I believe my company will have a great opportunity or run a risk. You would like to bring forward a proposal how to implement that or take that on board for your company. So that's block 1. So that is an individual assignment. Then we go to integrated business planning and control. This is integrated business planning is the new, let's say, way of supply chain planning. So the S&OP plan. And we do that side by side with a simulation game, where we have a game which runs multiple rounds, and the trick is really that you will see from the various roles assigned to you as a team. So that can be procurement, that can be warehouse, that can be make, and it can be finance, for instance. From that role, you will work on the different levers to tune your supply chain. So you will be asked to basically run an operation and to change that from a negative standard to a positive standard. So this is where you will be playing a game on, and that is 5 or 6 rounds, if I remember, and that is a group assignment. You will be sticking to the roles you've been assigned to, like I just explained. And that is, together with the integrated business planning, is a block really of looking at your own business. So how does that work? How are the various functions working together? So moving out of your silo, really looking at an end-to-end supply chain and create value out of that. So that's block 2. Then we move to block 3, technology and innovation in supply chain management. This is where we go out to a company which has a challenge or an issue or a question which they would like to be resolved by the various groups. Now, depending on the size of the cohort, you will have a group of 3 to 5 people in the group, and you work together on that group assignment. This time around, for instance, we work with an assignment for net cargo, and they really have asked us the question, what can you do to increase the predictability of our planning for the routing which we have. So they do 3 routes on a day, A, B, and C. And the later you get in the day, the more, let's say, domino effects of the first route with hampering, with traffic jams, with weather conditions, etc., are being visible in the end result as monitored that there is a delay in the delivery. So how can you improve that predictability? So there's a huge data set in Power BI where you will be deep diving in to investigate and to really come forward with solutions. And those can be technological, they can be innovative, they can be process related. So anything which on that, let's say, issue owner, the challenge owner, which you would say, I've done the analysis, this is how I've done that, this is what I come across with, these are my hypotheses tested to improve. this is my recommendation, you need to invest A, B, and C, and then you would have a predictability improvement of your route planning. And this is the type of costs related to that. This is the investment you need to do, and this is the return on investment you need to do. So besides the technological and innovation element in supply chain management, there's also a back-to-back finance component in this. So we really want you to come forward with a recommendation paper which makes sense for that senior management to make a decision upon. Then we move to block 4, that's leading and managing the supply chain. So that's really like a core block of running a operation, leading an operation and managing anything around your supply chain. So you will be really looking at designing supply chains, looking at where things are potentially going wrong, what you can do, how to improve, how to monitor your KPIs, etc., etc. So it's a real core block of learning how to manage your supply chain. So that's covering year 1, and then we move to year 2. Since we are in the close vicinity of Rotterdam Harbor, we have an operations and maritime management block, which is really, the port is a real different beast in terms of, let's say, supply chain management. This is why we've introduced the maritime management. You will be asked after block 6, so this is block 5 and block 6, so it runs for two blocks. You will be asked to design a complete end-to-end supply chain. And I won't disclose on the topic, but it's a fun one which everybody would like to work on. And basically, it starts with order of a consumer to the final delivery of the product to that consumer. So all the steps in between, and the nature of the project demands that you will go overseas. So this is why it is a very applicable assignment. Everything in there, in terms of operations, in terms of how to manage that, what is important, the weeks involved, the delays potentially, the risk you run, will be covered in that block. So it's a interesting block or 2 blocks basically. This is the content element. Parallel, you see in block 5 and 6 also. There's research method 1 and 2 and a proposal. So the proposal leads you up to the final thesis, which is an element out of your graduate portfolio, which you will be working on in block 7 and 8. The research method is really to help you to do a proper approach in terms of how do I do research, where do I get my fundamental information on, how do I cross-reference that, how do I take my bias out of that, how do I get that clear so that everybody is understanding not only the approach but also fundamentally can accept, let's say, the conclusions which I draw out of that. So you will be taught that. So that is a skill. So parallel to the content element in 5 and 6 on operations and maritime management, this is what we will do in block 5 and 6. Then we move to block 7 and 8. This is really time for you to start building your graduate portfolio, and there are several elements encompassing in that. It is either depending on whether you have a own subject from your sponsor company. If that is the case, we would call it a capstone project. So you will be working in your company and really developing, let's say, your thesis out of that. And if you don't have that, you can also apply for a more fundamental research type of topic. And you do that together with the knowledge centers where we have a good relationship with in the institute. So that builds, let's say, the thesis work or the capstone work. Besides that, you also need to deliver a progress report. Out of every block, what you've seen here, you will do a reflection, and that totally builds up progress in terms of your attitude. So you build your skills, and you build your attitude, and you build your knowledge. So out of that, you want to display that properly. This is what I've done, and therefore you can see my sponsor company. This is the progress I've made, and that all entails into your graduate portfolio. Then we have the bottom one, performance coaching and management training. Like I said, that runs over the 2 years, and that is really besides, let's say, the knowledge and the skills, we really want to help you in terms of making a step on coaching you to be the best of what you can be, like we promised. And we give you, that's the performance coaching. So we start in block 1, really like reflecting on, so what is my goal? What do I want to achieve? And what is then the path I need to take step by step to get to that goal in the 2 years. So that's an element in terms of performance coaching that is on individual, it is on team level. How do I perform in a group, in a team? And it is also in an organizational level. So these 3 elements constantly will come back. Management training is really like, we will deliver you and equip you with a couple of, let's say, tools which you can use for any situation in life when you are confronted with either your employees or your line management, and you want to share them, let's say, for instance, the innovation, technology and innovation, your recommendation, and the investment paper. So what do you need to do as a recommendation paper? What does it need to comprise, and how do you do that? So this entails, let's say, everything you do on performance coaching and management training. So this is the total program for the 2 years. Now I will quickly move back to the Q&A to see if there is, in the meantime, a question related to that. Okay, so I see a couple of questions. Whenever I see a part-time program, I automatically begin to assume that the classroom is mainly filled with people who have had a pretty broad experience in supply chain management. Yeah, that's definitely. Yeah, that's the case, because so you will have like-minded people around you. For me, I'm interested in the part-time program just because I would allow me to work in my spare time, assuming that I can manage the workload in university. Would you say that probably that's the case for majority of people? I don't know exactly what you mean with that question. Work in my spare time. So you will be required to attend the whole Thursday every week. So that's a requirement. And yes, you need to work on the program to study, to read, and to prepare the assignments in your spare time. So until now, we see that it is doable, particularly if you have a stable, let's say, private environment. If there is a lot of things happening at work or in private life, and we know that it will be more challenging. And if that happens, you need to indicate it, and we will find solutions. What you can take later in a following block, or if you would need an extra reset or whatever. Another one: does any block consist of computer modeling a logistics system? Computer modeling and logistics. No, it is not. So we're not teaching you how to use, let's say, ERP or SAP or Power BI or whatever. And so we assume that you know this, and if not, that you will be able to find at least basic knowledge in anything on the internet. So we're not modeling a logistics system. Besides that, we will do the design of that, and that means that you need to understand the various elements in that whole track. Last one. So what that means that when writing the portfolio, a student should be in an internship. Well, the internship, no, it is in your own sponsor company. That's what we would recommend. That is the far easiest. And if that's not the case, you will use a more academic question from the Knowledge Center. So that is more holistic on an industry level. So no, you don't need to do an internship, but the capstone, we assume that you do that in your work environment, where you are there on the other 4 days a week. Okay. Sponsor company, that's basically the company you work for. So you will ask them, can you sponsor me in terms of money and in terms of time? So you need to take time off every week. it would be ideal if they would sponsor that for you. So sponsoring your development to become, then to make the next step in your career. That's basically what we mean with sponsor company. Okay. Got it. Excellent. Good, Mikos. So can I ask you, Mikos, where do you come from, and what's the business you're in? Latvia right now, finishing up Riga Technical University. Okay, so but do you have a job in supply chain currently? Have you had that? And do you envisage that working in the Netherlands is for you an opportunity in supply chain management, or in Germany or in Belgium? We have had students coming from both. That means that it is a pretty big investment in terms of time to travel, but it is doable if you're committed to do that. But you need to work in supply chain management currently, and like I said, minimum 2 years, because I don't know what Riga Technical University, what the education is. So. Working in a shipping company right now, almost 2 years coming up. Okay. So, and is this Riga Technical University? Is that a business graduate, or what is it? Bachelor, I mean. Bachelor, yes. Okay, well, so we can't answer all your questions because I don't know the university. So if you apply, what I would encourage you, you then can upload your motivation letter and your CV and your diploma, and from that the COIR, the Center of International Affairs, and the admissions will get back to you with an answer. And I would presumably be having a conversation one-on-one with you, a small interview, to understand a bit your motivation and what you've done. So that's normally the process we go through. Okay. So let me see if Theonas also had a question. So where do I get back to? Attendance. So Tiano, you've not come back to me, so I assume everything is clear for you. So, which is fine. Hopefully that is what it should be. So. Business logistics course. Okay, so that sounds good. Okay, let me wrap up the presentation. So besides, let's say let's say difference in levels of what we acquire. So admission criteria, which you see on the left-hand side. It also you need to have a let's say an English acquired level, and that is shown here. So a language test is required. So the TOEFL test should be 90. So your best score is not accepted. So it should be on average, it should be 90. And you can also see if you have done Cambridge, you can also provide that as a level. So C, FCE, A, or B is allowed. They can't be older than 2 years at the start of the master program. That is a requirement also from, let's say, the government. So you can see this. You can if you don't have that test, but you're confident your English is good enough, you will be instructed to perform that test. They will help you, Koya and admissions, to find where, what, and how to upload the results of that. So that is an important element to remember. Now, I just would like to go back to this slide where you see the part-time version and the full-time. You know, we also have a full-time version. On average, that's 4 days a week, and it is 1 year. So both will result in the same diploma, so in the same degree. So let's make that crystal clear. Because you can do the math. If you have 2 years, 1 day a week, versus one year, 4 days a week. So the amount of time you have in front of that we have you as teachers in front of us, or you spend together with your classmates in the room, is completely different. So it is a smaller amount of time. That means that if you have a 60 ECT master degree, which you need, and one ECT stands for 28 hours, and that can be study or that can be in-class type of training, lecturing, you will have more time you need to spend at home. So be aware of that. So that is basically what I would like to add to you and share with you. So I would like to ask you if there is any other questions, let's pick them up now in the chat. If not, then I can close this. I see. So the part-time program has a lot more criteria to be eligible. Why is that the case? So I explained that at the start. So it is basically the English holds for everybody. So that is the same. So the only thing is that we have a community which has a big different background. So everybody is active in the field. So the experience level is high, and therefore, if you don't have any relevant experience in the field and cannot apply it tomorrow or in your business, it is a complete different dynamic which you would have. So we expect everybody to have the same experience, minimum 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years work experience, depending on the bachelor diploma, to really have that dynamic at the level we aspire to. So that's the main reason why we have that. I hope that is clear. Okay, good to know, Mikos. Thanks for that. So anything else you would like to know?